right. So we're going to start today lying on our backs in constructive rest pose. So that's where you lie all the way back, bring a bend into the knees, feet nice and wide, and those knees can just tent in and support each other. Give yourself the first moment to just arrive. Let everything quiet down in your mind. Allow the breath to just flow in and out. Today, I want us to think about being strong and steady. Through this past week, through some of the changes that are occurring just in our kind of global life, it can feel like things just get away from you sometimes. I want today to be a really strong grounding practice where it'll be a little less dynamic than some other classes we do together. So we can find that strength within us to keep us carrying on. So finding those steady breaths, riding those waves. And let's do our best to keep those long, deep breaths with us as we begin to move. Blink your eyes open if they were shut. And we're now just going to bring the feet a little closer. So about hip distance, knees point up. Take both hands, bring them to your hips, and just rock the hips back and forth, like you're tucking and tilting that pelvis. So you could imagine if you had water in your belly button, that one way that water would roll towards you, and then the other way it would roll away from you. Just finding those subtle movements. And then we're going to settle the pelvis back down, and between those two, which will be our neutral spine, our main focus today. Keep your hands down by your side, palms on the ground. We're going to root down through those heels. And instead of rolling the spine up into a bridge, let's lift the hips up all in one line. So you're one line from the knees down to your collarbone. And then we can lower the hips back down. On your inhale, press the feet into the ground, lift the hips up. And exhale, bring them back down. Find those big muscles to carry you. Inhale, hips lift high. And exhale, bring them back down. One more time, we'll just inhale to lift them. Keep your hips lifted. Imagine you are squeezing the glutes and pulling your heels towards your shoulders. Keep those breaths nice and long. One more round to go. Nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, lower the hips back down. So now we can float the feet off the ground, stacking our knees on top of our hips, and squeeze the ankles and knees together. Keep spreading the low back onto the ground, and we're going to take our hands onto the tops of our knees. Bring a little bit of pressure there and resist that pressure with your knees. Now you're in control of how hard you want to press, how hard you want to work. Keep breathing all the way down to your belly. One breath to go. And lower your feet back down. Good. Let's just knock our knees from side to side. If you're carrying any tension in the hips, hopefully it can just roll right off. And in a way that makes sense to you, we're going to meet in tabletop. You could rock and roll your way up or press firmly with the palms. We'll all meet in the same place. All right. So stack your hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we'll play with that tuck and tilt of pelvis again. So inhale, let the belly drop down as you shine your heart forwards into cow pose. And then exhale, tuck the tail end around the spine to cat. Move back and forth about 3 more rounds with your breath. And then we'll meet in that neutral spine, so somewhere between those two. Take your right leg, reach it all the way back behind you, and bring a bend into the knee. Stay as firm as you can in the hands, and imagine that you've got your favorite beverage resting on your low back. We're going to pull that knee out to the right side, bring it back underneath of you, and kick your right heel back again. So making big circles with that knee, keep going, about 3 circles in total. Trying not to drop any of that special drink. When you've done about 3 circles going one direction, just switch directions. Really trying to isolate these movements just to the hip, stirring it around. Good, and from here, let's extend those toes back behind you and lower them to the ground. So you're pointing the toes now, so your toenail is on the ground. We're going to do a semicircle out to the right, and then bring the whole foot to the ground. I'll rotate around so you can see me. Good, stay firm. The sky, roll onto the heel. And then go the other direction. The toes come down, lift the heel off the mat. So we're just moving the femur bone back and forth in our hips, exploring some internal and external rotation. And again, rather subtle. Good. This next time the heel or toes both meet the ground, we'll reverse those steps. So point the toes, do that semicircle back behind you again. And from there, we'll tuck the toes under. Press firmly into the palms, slide your left toes back to join. You're in a high plank. And we're going to revisit this pose quite a bit today. So at any point, feel free to do all of these shapes with the knees down. Take 1 deep breath in and plank. And as you breathe out, bring your right forearm under, and then the left forearm can find the ground as well. Take 1 deep breath. And as you breathe out, lower the hips to the ground and untuck the toes. We're meeting in Sphinx pose. The elbows under the shoulders, fingertips spread wide ahead of you. Try to draw the shoulder blades together and send the heart space forward. Now we want to keep that low back rather long. So imagining that tailbone growing long towards the heels. Use your glutes to protect the low back. And we're slowly going to reverse those steps. The toes can tuck under. Lift the knees off the mat. Press into the forearms until the hips rise up. Now remember, those knees can be down. Bring the right hand under the shoulders and the left rising up to high plank. And then hips go up and back, downward facing dog. Give yourself a moment here just to settle in, so pedal through the feet. Plant those palms rather firmly. And you can even look left and right to loosen up your neck. Let's meet again in tabletop. Bend the knees, bring them to the ground under your hips. Good. We're going to do that again on the other side. Bend into the knee. You've got that imaginary drink back on the low back. Pull the knee out to the left, underneath of you, and kick it back behind. So about 3 circles in one direction. And when you've done 3, switch directions. After 3 of those circles each way, point the toes back behind, toenail on the ground. Do a quarter circle out to the left until the foot finds its way to the ground. Keep puffing up into the upper back. We'll spin the toes to the sky, roll onto the heel, then go the other direction. Toes come down, spin the heel to the sky. Stirring that femur around just a couple more times. Lovely. And next time the foot finds the ground, keep it there. Point the toes away from you again. Bring them back behind you, tucking them under. Then we'll send the right foot back to join the left in high plank. Now knees lifted or lower, that's up to you. Take a deep breath in. And as you lower, just bring the left forearm down and then the right. Take a breath in our forearm plank. And as you exhale, sink the hips to the ground and untuck your toes. We're going to hang out here for about 3 more breaths in Sphinx. Broaden through the collarbone. Tailbone is reaching back towards the heels. And you might even be sending your pubic bone further into the ground to protect that low back. Good. Let's think about reversing these steps. Toes tuck under, knees could stay on the ground or lift them. We're going to press into the forearms and lift the hips off the ground. Good. Let's bring the left hand under the shoulder, then the right coming up to high plank. And hips go up and back, downward facing dog. Give yourself about 3 more breaths here. You could be in stillness or pedaling through those legs again. Begin looking forwards towards our hands, pedal all the way up to meet them. And let's stay in a nice big forward fold here. Bend your knees enough that the backs of the hands can find the ground, or you could even place them all the way under your feet. Give those wrists a break. If you're stepping all the way onto the hands, we can take them out of the way. Inhale, press your hands into your shins, you halfway lift the spine. Exhale, float back down. And as you inhale, drive the heels into the ground, we'll reach the arms to the sky. Exhale, mountain pose. Good. All right, let's bring our feet to about hip distance. We'll bend into the knees, sit back into this imaginary chair, and bring the arms by the ears. Now, think about that pelvis again, and see if you can keep it nice and flat in that neutral position. So we're not really tucking or tilting too much. Slowly bring your weight into the right foot. Keep leaning forward with the arms as you slide the left toes back. And we're landing into a lunge, but keep the body outstretched ahead. Take 1 more deep breath here. Now think about this length from the fingertips to your back knee. We'll keep it in the same line as you just bend the left knee and tip the fingertips to the sky. Good, so it's like a lever. Now as we inhale, straighten the back leg, lean forward. And as you exhale, bend that back knee again, become vertical in the spine. Good, 1 more like that. Inhale, stretch the body forward. Exhale, bend the back knee. Good, now it's up to you. You can lower the back knee down for a moment, give the legs a rest, or keep it hovering. And we're gonna split the arms. Left one comes forwards, right goes to the back behind you. Give yourself a moment to keep stretching through those arms. Perhaps you open up the gaze to the right side of the room or the right thumb. Feel those sturdy, strong legs holding you there. And if you're looking back behind you, take a look forwards for the front hand. Start straightening the left leg, sending the left hand to the ground under your shoulder, and peek up again towards your top hand. Good. Take that top hand, bring it to the ground on the inside of your right foot, and we'll come into a long and wide lunge. So heel toe the right foot all the way to the edge of the mat, both hands under the shoulders, and you might even wiggle the left toes further back behind you. This is a lizard lunge. You can stay firmly up onto both palms. You might bend the elbows a little bit or use some of your homemade props to bring them under the forearms. And you can keep the back knee up or settle it down onto the ground. Now we've got about 4 more breaths in this pose. At the halfway mark, 2 more breaths. Good. Let's start easing out of this. So if the forearms are down, we'll bring the hands back under the shoulders. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee on the ground. Plant the palms so firmly that you can slide your right leg back to high plank. Now feel free to drop those knees down for this next sequence. Take a breath in and plank. And as you breathe out, bring the right forearm down and then the left. Take a big deep breath in our forearm plank. And we'll sink the hips to the ground, untuck the toes, shine our heart forwards for Sphinx. 2 more deep breaths here. Start reversing those steps. Toes could tuck under, knees lifted or lowered. As you begin to lift the hips up to forearm plank. Bring the right palm under the shoulder, then the left rising up high plank. And hips dip up and back, downward facing dog. Take a peek forwards towards the hands. Travel to meet them, tiptoe hopper steps. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold back down. And as you inhale, rise all the way to stand, stretch the arms to the sky. Exhale, mountain pose. Give yourself a couple breaths between these rounds. Feel the feet firmly landing, holding you strong, shoulders relaxed. Bend the knees, sit back into this imaginary chair, arms by the ears. Keep this long line from the fingertips all the way down to the tailbone. As you shift the weight to the left foot, slowly slide the right toes back as you continue to lean forward. So the body's angled like a runner's lunge, but the arms are adding a little bit extra load for us to carry. 1 more deep breath here. And we'll straighten the torso out as you bend the back knee. Launch yourself back forward, leaning ahead to this runner's lunge. And we'll bend the right knee to lift the spine vertically. Good. Straighten the back leg, tilt forward. And bend the back knee. We'll stay here this time or lower the knee all the way to the ground. Send the right arm forwards, left to the back. Decide if you want to look to the left side of the room or perhaps to the left thumb. Wonderful. We'll keep expanding into the arms, but just switch where we're looking. Bring it forwards to the front hand. Straight shoulder. And we'll take a look up to the top hand. Rooting down through that bottom hand, growing as tall as we can with the left. And let's take that Left hand, bring it under the ground or under your shoulders to the ground as you heel toe that left foot as wide as the mat and wiggle your right toes back to our lizard lunge. So you have a few options here, same as last time, palms firmly on the ground. Feel free to lower down to any props to keep that back leg really activated, knee lifted, or let it rest on the ground. From here, about 4 more deep breaths to go. Begin rising back up to the palms if you lowered. Lift the back knee if it was lowered. Find a firm press of the palms into the ground. You can slide the left foot back to high plank. Take a deep breath in this plank. And as you exhale, lower the left forearm down and on the right to the mat. Take a deep breath in our forearm plank. And we can sink the hips to the ground, untuck the toes, shine your heart ahead in Sphinx. Good, we'll slowly reverse our way out, toes tuck under, knees lifted or lowered as the hips rise off the mat, forearm plank. Press your left hand down on the right to lift up into high plank. And hips go up and back, downward facing dog. Take a look ahead, travel to meet the hands, tiptoe hopper step. When you get there, inhale, we'll halfway lift. Exhale, float back down. And as you inhale, rise all the way to stand, stretch the arms by the ears. Exhale, mountain pose. Good. Sit back into your imaginary chair, bend the knees, arms by the ears. Good. Shift the weight into the right foot. Slide the left toes back. Continue to lean forward. Same shape as last time. One more deep breath, holding here. And then we'll bend the left knee to lift the spine vertically in this lunge. This time as we inhale, straighten both legs, stretch the arms away. Then as you exhale, bend both knees as you pull the elbows down to a cactus shape. Inhale, drive through the legs, reach the arms to the sky. And exhale, bend the knees, pull the elbows down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, pull and squeeze down. Last round, inhale, lift tall. Exhale, pull and squeeze. Now keep that knee lifted or lower it to the ground. On your next breath in, spin the cactus shape to the right into a twist. And use your exhale to look straight ahead again. Inhale, open the body up to the right into a twist. And exhale, spin yourself back forward. One more, inhale, look to the right. And this time as we exhale, we're gonna go all the way to the left. Let the toes adjust so you're into a straddle facing the left side of the mat. Good, we can bring our hands onto our waist. Grow the spine a little bit taller for a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, fold forwards over your legs. Let's give ourselves just about 3 or 4 breaths, just allowing ourselves to get adjusted into this inversion. Loosen up the jaw and furrow your brow. And you can even just let the head look left and right, allowing any tension to roll off. Let's lengthen out our spine. So tiptoe your fingers forward. So getting as long as you can from the tailbone to the crown of your head. And you can either keep a tented right hand onto the ground or find one of those props again to place the palm onto it. Take your left hand, bring it to the back of the pelvis. See if it feels steady enough to place that drink on it again. All right, we're going to try to keep that area really stable as you roll the left shoulder open. And optionally, you could stretch the left arm to the sky. Switching sides, left palm comes down onto the prop or onto the ground. Take your right palm, feel around for the low back. Begin rolling the right shoulder open. And maybe place that right arm on top as well. Both hands can return to the ground. Look towards your right foot and start walking your way around. We're coming back to that wide, long lunge. So heel to your right foot all the way to the edge. Both palms again under the shoulders. And this time we will bring the back knee down, untuck the toes. Lean into the left palm, and we're going to let the right knee fall away this time. So the right hand comes to the inner thigh, spiraling your heart open to the right side. Bring both hands back under your shoulders. Come out of the depth so you can wiggle your back knee a little closer and step your right foot back to high plank. Knees lifted or lowered. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, lower to the right forearm and then the left to forearm plank. Take a deep breath in forearm plank. And we're lowering to Sphinx pose, hips come down, untuck the toes to shine your heart ahead. 2 more deep breaths here. Good, reversing those steps. Toes tuck under, lift the hips up, forearm plank. Right hand comes under the shoulder, then the left to high plank. And hips go up and back, downward facing dog. Take a look forward, travel to meet those hands. Inhale, we'll halfway lift. Exhale, float back down. And inhale, come all the way up to stand, arms stretched by the ears. Exhale, mountain pose. Bending our knees, sit back into your chair, arms by the ears. Good, shift the weight to the left, slide the right toes back, landing in this runner's lunge, one long line from the fingertips to the back heel. Let's bend the right knee, tip the torso vertically, reaching up to the sky, drive through the heels, stretch both legs, and as you exhale, squeeze as they bend and pull the elbows down to cactus. Inhale, reach the arms up, and exhale, pull it down. 2 more. Inhale, rise up, and pull down. Good, last one. Inhale, stretch to the sky. Exhale, pull down, either hovering the knee or the knee all the way to the ground. Take a deep breath in as you spin yourself, looking to the left, and then look straight ahead. Inhale, open up to the left. Exhale, look straight ahead. Inhale, twisting to the left. And this time we're opening all the way up to the other side of the mat. Pivot the toes with you. So you're standing into a wide-legged position, feet parallel. Hands can find our waists as you take a deep breath in, growing a little taller. As you exhale, fold forwards over yourself. Take about 3 to 4 breaths here, either just hanging out, or if you want to stretch out your hamstrings, walk the fingertips back a little bit, and use your grippy mat to pull the head down, tailbone up. Begin wandering our fingertips ahead, get as long as you can into the body as well, or the spine again, and either tenting the left hand onto the ground or placing the palm onto a block. We'll bring our right hand to the low back, feel for that steady surface, roll your shoulder open, and possibly reach the right arm on top. Take your right hand, bring it down. Now the left hand feels around for that steady surface as you roll the left shoulder open and stack the left arm on top. Both hands can come back down to the ground. Look towards your left foot as we start to spin around to face it, but both hands come to the inside, so nice wide and long again. You can settle the right knee down, lean onto the right palm, and let the left knee fall away. So you're coming onto the blade edge of that left foot as you spiral the heart open, looking to the left. So eventually bring the sole of the foot back to the wiggle out of this depth again, and we'll slide your left foot back to high plank. Take a deep breath in and plank. And as you breathe out, lower to the left forearm and then the right. Take a deep breath in and forearm plank. And as you breathe out, we're lowering down to Sphinx pose. Shine the heart ahead. Feel that tailbone growing long back towards the heels. Nice and toned through the glutes. Open through the heart space. Good, let's tuck both toes under. Lift the hips up, back to forearm plank. Press the left hand down, then the right to high plank. Hips go up and back, downward facing dog. Take a look forward to where we're going and tiptoe hopper step to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold back down. And inhale, come all the way up to stand, arms stretched by the ears. Exhale, mountain pose. All right, we're going to switch the pace a little bit now. And if you're using blocks or any homemade props, keep them just one on each side of the mat close to the top, or perhaps if you're using a chair, that's the word, you could just keep it ahead of you. All right, so we'll start. I'll face you so you can see head on what we're doing. Start bringing the weight into your right foot, get a little lighter on the left toes, and we're going to send the knee away. So external rotation to the hip. Now just float the toes off the ground, and we're going to cross it in front of our shin and use your toes to kind of hook around the shin. Now, instead of a normal tree where you're pressing in towards your midline, I want you to think about pulling the legs apart. So really use those glutes. Let's also expand through the arms. So press these imaginary walls away as well. Good, getting sturdy, strong. And let go of that effort. Bring your hands to waist. Good, now we're gonna bring that left foot up a little bit higher towards your thighs. You start softening into your standing legs knee. So it might just be a little bit of a bend of the knee sitting back into a chair, and your hands might hold onto the foot and the knee, or just keep them onto your waist as you tilt the body forward. As much as you're sitting the feet back, tilt the chest forward. One more breath here. Good. Let's straighten out our standing leg and take the left foot, just step it back about one leg length. Lovely. Good. So we've got both feet on the ground. There's an angle in the back foot. Let's keep our hands on our waist. Take a deep breath in, growing a little taller. And as you breathe out, hinge from the waist, leaning forwards, and go only maximum about 90 degrees. Now, you might not even go that far. This is where you might want to locate those props, bringing the ground a little closer to you. So if you're not using props today, feel free to just keep the hands holding onto the waist. Always check in with that front knee if it needs a little micro bend there to help support it. And if you're using these props today, keep the left hand or finger pads onto the left block as you bring the right hand to the low back, feeling for that surface where you can put your drink on again. You can stay right here or begin to roll the right shoulder open, possibly sliding the right hand on top. We can take our right hand, bring it back down to square the shoulders. Charge into the legs to lift the spine vertically again. Hands can find your waist. And step your left foot ahead, back to 2 feet. Wonderful. Let's do that again on the other side. So all the weight comes in the left foot, lighter onto the right toes, and external rotation into the hip. Knee points out. Float the toes enough that you can bring them to the other side and hook the toes around. Find the sensation of pulling away, and I'll press the walls away. Taking up some space, standing nice and tall, nice and strong. One more deep breath here. Good. Now let go of that effort of pulling as you slowly slide that ankle a little taller, soften into your left knee. Now lean forwards as you sit back, and either holding onto your waist or one on each side of this shin. So the foot and the knee, you decide. Lovely. From here, we'll charge into that standing leg, and your right foot steps back, just a natural step back, about a leg length worth. Bring our hands to waist. Take a deep breath in, growing taller. We're keeping all this length in our spine as we hinge forward. Stop when you're feeling a nice stretch. See if you want that little micro bend in your front knee. And if you've got those props, bring your fingertips to the top of them. Your right hand's the one that will stay where it is, as the left hand feels around for your table-like surface on top of the pelvis. Roll your left shoulder open and possibly stretch the left arm on top. Good. We'll bring that top hand back down. Charge into the feet to lift the spine back up. And step forwards with the right foot, back to 2 feet. Wonderful. All right, we can move any props out of the way that might be on your mat. And we'll move things down to get a little lower again. Feet about hip distance. Take a deep breath in, stretching the arms overhead. And exhale, fold forwards over your legs. Inhale, halfway lift the spine. Exhale, touch the ground and step back to downward facing dog. And this downward facing dog will just look forwards and step or hop through to a seat. Cross the ankles as you go and assist your way down. Wonderful. All right, let's find a 90-90 shape with the right leg forward. So sit onto your right hip, keep the right leg ahead with a bend in the knee, and then bring the left leg out to the side, also a bend in that knee. Good. Now take a look at your back leg and just readjust yourself so that you make sure that the knee and ankle are padded onto your mat. And just try to keep as much length in the spine as we're going to play here. So you can walk your hands forwards, tense into the fingers just so you feel supported. All right, we're going to focus on the back leg to begin. Keep the ankle on the ground and see if you can lift the knee off the ground. Maybe it's just a millimeter, maybe it's the effort of lifting, and lower back down. We're going to do that 5 times in total. Just little lift the knee, practicing that external rotation, really subtle movements again into the hip. Good, and we can call that about 5. Let the knee rest now. We're going to go the other way. The knee stays down and lift the ankle off the mat. 5 of those. So now we're going internal rotation. And we can call that about 5 as well. Keep the whole back leg resting now. Continue to lengthen your spine out, so crawl those hands forward, and then bring them over to the right side. We're going to find a spinal twist, and you can look over your right shoulder. Now, this type of twist often just accesses a little bit deeper into the lower back rather than the upper. Let's start walking your hands ahead of you again. Look straight ahead. And we're going to start lowering down. You might come to the forearms onto the mat. You could use your props or stack both palms under your forehead. So we're looking for a nice deep stretch on the outer right hip. Bring your attention back to the breath. See if you can iron it out, make it a little smoother. Let's begin lifting back up to the palms. Good. Now to go to the other side, we're going to do a big windshield wiper open. So bring both hands back behind you. Bring the soles of the feet to the ground as the knees switch sides, and you'll most likely be facing the back of your mat or maybe the side. Give yourself another moment to just readjust so that your right knee and ankle are padded onto the mat. We're going to crawl our hands forward, find some support into the spine. Then look back at your right knee. We're going to lift it off the mat about 5 times. Little subtle lift. Bring it back down. The next time it comes to the mat, keep it there. We'll switch just by keeping the knee down, lifting the ankle up 5 times. Now we can rest the whole back leg. Keep growing the spine a little bit longer by walking your fingertips ahead, then off to the left side as you look over your left shoulder. Now go slowly, see where you're feeling this twist, and take 3 more deep breaths here. Good. Spin yourself back forward so you're looking straight ahead. And this is where we'll start lowering down any amount, maybe to the forearm or to the tops of the hands where your head can rest. Let's start pressing back up to the palms. And we're going to do that same windshield wiper to bring us back forward. So fingertips come behind. Bring the soles of the feet to the ground as the knees windshield wiper back forward. And let's go back and forth a few times. So we can keep the hands behind us, just doing this windshield wiper from hip to hip. And if you feel like you might not need the use of your hands, you could even lift them off and see if you can just go no hands. Now, at any point, if you're feeling any rounding into that low back that we've been protecting this whole class, bring those hands back down. You might accidentally walk off your mat, just like I am here. And the next time your right leg is ahead, we can just spin both legs ahead of us. Good. All right, let's bring a bend into the knees, toes all the way to the top of the mat. We're going to reach our arms forwards as you lean back and then come up to the tip toes. You can keep the tip toes anchored there or float the feet in both. Now try to keep that spine growing long, this neutral spine again. We can get through these hard times. 2 more deep breaths in boat. Good, and the feet can find the ground. Give yourself a hug as you round over yourself. Let's do that one more time. So set up the same way. Find lots of length in the spine. Arms can reach ahead or holding onto those legs. Come up to the tiptoes and see if you can hover the feet. One more breath to go. Good, and the feet can find the ground. Give yourself that hug. All right, well, lift back up. This time the feet will stay fully anchored. If you want to keep that neutral spine into your back, use your hands to crawl back all the way down, or feel free to break those rules and we'll do the C curve spine down. You decide. We'll all meet in the same place. Shoulders nice and flat on the ground, and keep a bend in your knees with the feet under them. Good. Now your hands can stay down by your side for a moment. We're going to lift the hips up to the sky, back into this bridge that we visited today. One long line from the knees down to the collarbone. And you can stay stable and strong here, or feel free to work into a back bend. So rolling the shoulders underneath, clasping your palms, and perhaps lifting the hips a little bit taller. Now let's unlace those hands to bring the hips to the ground and knock your knees from side to side a couple times. Bring your feet back to hip distance. We'll cross your right ankle on top of the left knee, shine the toes back towards the shin, and try to send the right thigh further away. Feel free to stay rooted, holding here, breathing deeply, or float the left foot and hold behind the knee. If the left foot is lifted, let's bring it back to the ground. Keep this figure 4 shape into the legs. And we're gonna knock it over to the left side, trying to get that left sole of the foot, or so the right sole of the foot to the ground. Now it might not make it all the way there. So take your left hand, reach for that ankle, see if you can steady it slightly. If you really wanna activate this, try to send your knee further away from you. Now let's stretch the right arm overhead away from you, stretching from those fingertips down to your right hip crease. Easing out of this slowly, let go of that ankle. You can bring that figure four shape back up before you uncross the ankle and drop your knees from side to side a couple more times. Good, last little round here. Left ankle can cross over your right knee. Send the thigh away. Stay rooted where you are or float the right foot, holding behind the knee. Good, you can let go of that foot, bring it back to the ground. And now your set of legs are going to fall over to the right, trying to get the sole of the foot down and steady that ankle with your right hand. The left arm can stretch up overhead, and maybe you're sending the left thigh a little further away if you really want to activate this hip opener. Let's start rising back up into your figure four shape. Uncross the ankle, and our last little windshield wiper today, knees can slosh from side to side. Let's give ourselves a little hug. Both sides come into the chest, wrap your arms around. Then we're going to separate the legs. The hands can come from the inside to hold onto the ankles or outer feet in happy baby. Good. Now in this happy baby, let's focus on trying to lengthen the low back again. So there's some rounding happening there naturally in this shape. So see if you can imagine you're bringing your tailbone back down to the ground to stretch it out a little bit longer. Good. And in this happy baby, let's bring the feet together. And we're going to lower the legs down, but we're landing in a cobbler pose, knees wide apart. You could use some of those props just to slide under the thighs for some added support, or even take your fists and bring them under the top or the upper regions of your thighs. Now, if your hands are free, bring one over the heart, one over the belly. Let your eyes begin to shut. Bring your attention back to the breath for a moment. Some steady, strong breaths in and steady breaths back out. And feel free to stay in this wide open shape for the remainder of our time together. But if you prefer traditional Shavasana, feel free to start extending those heels nice and long. Allow your mind to rest. Let go of any controlled deep breathing. Returning to your natural rhythm. Begin sending your breath a little deeper. We invite small and familiar movements to your hands and feet. Stretch your arms overhead, point your toes far away. And take your time in your own way. Come and join me in a seat. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. For this last hour, as we celebrated our bodies through some breath and movement together. And I look forward to doing this again soon. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you so much. I hope that the internet wasn't too shaky. I just got it back with that outage today. So I saw that, I wasn't sure if it was on my end or yours as well, but it looked like everyone stayed on, which I'm happy to see. Good. Thank you so much, everyone. So nice to see you. Bye.
Thanks, Becky.
Thanks, Jess. So nice to see you. Have a good one. Hey, Mama.